I'd say we're both competitive as heck. Growing up, it was actually quite funny. We had a moment yesterday where I called shotgun and Justin jumped in the front seat, and we laughed when we got in the car because, you know, it was one of those things when we were younger we would actually fight about that. It was a real
full-out brawl.
It was a real competitive issue, and so I'd say growing up we were both real competitive. And then just as I guess a difference I see as a big brother is I'm a lot more serious a lot of times than Justin is, and Justin has more of a laid-back spirit, and he seems to be a lot more, you know, personable, outgoing, if you will. He's always the one cracking jokes. I guess that's what you could say. You have anything else?
I'm more athletic.
He's definitely not more athletic,
aside from that one, you know.
The biggest similarity is we both have 2 torn ACLs. I mean,
great knees.
What a great knees. They're gonna be feeling great down the road. So I guess.
Yeah, can't wait. Yeah.
Oh, he just left you hanging there.
Oh, that was nuts.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying like a mic. Like you went like that?
No, I meant, bro. Give me knuckles. There. All right.
There we go. That wasn't awkward at all.
Fine.
All right, so now that I guess that leads me into my next question. Both have torn ACLs, and you guys got them within a week of each other this season. Drue, I guess we'll start with you because you were the first one to get your injury. Can you just talk about what your initial thought was after you came off the field?
Yeah, I mean, I was having a great game. It was the best game I'd played probably in my life. And then just right, you know, before halftime there to make a play on the ball and just feel, you know, overcome with excitement, and my teammates are running at me, and, you know, I jump up and celebrate with Joe. It's something I do every practice. Guys do every practice, and it's something that I wouldn't have thought differently. I mean, now I'm obviously going to think differently, but it was a crushing moment for me because I knew the second I went down what had happened. I knew my season was over. I knew I wasn't going to play with guys like Joe and Matthias, Sheldon and Jalen and those guys ever again. And so it was hard for me to walk back up that tunnel and walk off a field with 80,000 fans, knowing that it was never going to be the same that year walking back out there. I was never going to have the pads on. I was never going to be able to compete for my team. And so that was crushing. The hardest moment for me was standing in the locker room as my teammates walked back up in there and looking them in the face and being like, everything we'd gone through in the summer, into fall ball, into camp, like, all the, you know, blood, sweat, and tears we'd poured out, like this was kind of the end of the road as far as playing was concerned for me. And so that was hard to look them in the face and and have to, you know, come to the realization that I was finished for the season.
And then, Justin, watching that play, what was your initial thought when you saw him go down?
I wasn't able to watch it because we had a game that day also, and so we were in the middle of game prep, which
he was balling.
Yeah, we go with that. But yeah, so I wasn't able to watch it.
Were y'all playing Ohio State that week?
No, it was the week before. I think we were playing Murray State.
Okay.
Or not? Yeah, it was Murray State.
Okay.
But I wasn't able to watch the game because I was getting ready. But I got a text from my dad and a couple of buddies, and they just said like Drue just went down with like an injury. He grabbed his knee. So like first thought for me is just like, yeah, be kidding me, like this can't be happening again. So like I said a quick prayer for him, whatever, and then I went out because we had to start warm-ups, and then I came back in at halftime, and like first thing I did was like I just ran and grabbed my phone because I'd been stressing about it, and I called my dad to like see what happened, and then he just told me, he was like, yeah, they're like 99% sure he tore his ACL. So for me it was just like just heartbreaking, more or less, just because like I can empathize with him. I've been through it. And it's even harder to see someone like him that like works so hard for everything, and you know, works harder than anybody I know, to have something taken away from him like twice in like such a short span. It was hard as a brother to, you know that he has to go through that again.
What was the first thing you guys said to one another after Drue's injury?
I'm pretty sure. I mean, we're both very spiritual individuals, and so the one thing that's always got us both through things is just trusting that God has a plan for everything. So I mean, I remember whenever I first got mine, like first thing Drue had to say to me was just like, dude, like just trust God's timing, trust His plan, like you know it's gonna work out. You know, you can't control the situation now. All you can control is how you respond to it. And so just moving forward, all you can really do is work hard, keep a positive attitude, and trust God's timing and everything.
I think it was a real positive situation because, you know, we had already both gone through it, and so it was almost kind of like it was awful that I was getting ready to go through it again, but, you know, from Justin's perspective, he's like, you've been through this, man. We've been through this together already once. I know, and more than anything, he just believed in me and was just affirming that and saying, like, you know, like, I know you're going to come back from this, and I know you're going to be stronger. And, you know, God's got great plans for you. You know, Romans 8:28 was a big verse for us. And so he was real positive and really encouraging. He was one of the first people that I just knew believed in me and knew that I could overcome this a second time.
And then a week later, Justin, you have the same exact injury. What was the first thing that you went through?
I couldn't let him one up me, so I was like tearing mine too. Mine was actually in practice. It wasn't even like in a game. It was just, I mean, the crazy thing about ACLs is like just how they happen. Like I was literally just running down the field. We were just doing a special teams drill, and I went to make a cut, and it was non-contact. Just when I planted, it just heard the pop, and I went down. And it was kind of like him, how he said, the moment that it happened, I knew like what it was, and the trainer didn't even have to say anything. He came over, felt it, and I just looked at him. I was like, he was like, I'm pretty sure. And then at that point, I went and got my MRI and then found out. But yeah, mine was in practice, wasn't in a game or anything.
And I don't know if he was putting on a front or what he was, but I remember the conversation we had when he called me.
Oh.
And I go, Justin, what happened? And he goes, and he laughed and said, I couldn't let you one up me, man. I tore mine too. And I'll never forget because he laughed about it. And I've never seen someone have such a good spirit about going through such like suffering, and like, it's like no like joke of like an injury. Like it's like 8 months of like grueling like rehab, and it's awful. And just to see someone smile, and like, I don't know if he puts on a front, but you'll never like see him down. He's always, you can't be in Justin's presence and not have a smile on your face and not be in a good mood. I don't know if he's just like that strong of a person, but I just remember like looking to him, and I just was like, shoot, man, like I'm gonna beat you through the rehab, and like that competitive spirit just came back out.
Yeah, it was always, I mean, to me at least, it was like a lighthearted situation, and that's like the best you could do in a situation like this, was just be lighthearted about it, because I mean, the chances of it happening, for one, were just like astronomical. So the fact that it happened was.
What was it, 4 in like a year and a half?
Yeah, it was just like, it was funny in itself, because I remember calling my mom, and I told her, and she laughed. Like, she was just like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, what can you do about it? I mean, there's nothing you can do, so.
Well, Mom said we can do one thing. We can take Jack to the doctor and get his knees scoped. So our younger brothers are going now.
We're gonna get it taken care of before the tear, so that's the plan moving forward.
I was gonna say, what did your orthopedic surgeon give you for Christmas?
Good knees.
Good knees.
Good knees.
Strong knees. The ability to come back and play again.
Yeah, I mean, that's good enough for me.
So you said that you guys wanted to kind of compete against one another in the rehab. How do you compete against one another in a rehab? Kind of what was your mentality?
It's just like, you know, you just casually check up on each other, see how each other's doing. You know, hey man, like, I'm not trying to brag. I threw up 300 on squat today. What about you? And he's just, oh, you know, 350. And I'm like, oh,
yeah.
Sweet. It's constantly just like one-upping each other kind of thing. I mean, not serious. Obviously, we're always like pushing each other and whatnot, but it was just kind of fun to turn into something competitive.
I think it's more of a mentality than anything. You know, in your rehab, you can't really control, you know, what stage you're at. All you can do is bring your best spirit and your best work each and every day and progress in that way. But like, you know, whether you have a meniscus tear, you know, every ACL is different, and every person's going to respond differently. And so I don't think it was as much a like, dude, I'm gonna beat you here, but it was just encouraging to hear each other's progress and how we were progressing through things.
Yeah, how did it help being able to lean on one another throughout this tough time?
I mean, for me, it was just awesome, just because, you know, you have your best friend, your person that you hung out with all the time growing up, going through like the same exact thing as you. And it's also a lot easier when you have someone that can relate, because it's hard to talk about it with someone who like, hasn't been through it, or to have someone give you advice when like they don't know what you're going through, they don't know what you're feeling. So to have someone that was like going through it with me and able to, you know, give me guidance or encouragement and say, hey man, like I was struggling with the same thing, this is where I'm at now. It was just encouraging just to have someone, you know, supporting to keep pushing you.
I think relating is the biggest key he touched on there, because a lot of your coaches, the players, you know, your friends, your family, a lot of people sympathize with you in the first few weeks, but as you get into your rehab, if you haven't gone through it, you can't necessarily understand like the patience and the work that kind of goes into the rehabilitation process. And so having someone to relate to in that regard, you're putting hours into it every day, and a lot of people can't see that work necessarily. And like, from our perspective, we understand that. I don't want someone like pitying me for 8 months through rehab process. Like, life goes on, and like for my teammates, like I didn't want to be the focus. I didn't want them, checking up on me every day. I wanted them to focus on beating the next opponent, on winning a national championship. And so for me, it was like, I'm going to continue to work every day, but it was nice in those times that I had struggle to be able to go like, Justin, like, man, like, how are you doing? Like, I'm hurting today. Like, my knee's been really hurting this week. Like, and have someone there to relate and understand what I'm going through.
And now looking forward, what has it been like kind of knowing that, all right, I can start running on my knee again. I can start working out together now that you guys are together, kind of floating back in between campus and home this summer?
Mine's I'm just excited. It's exciting being able to get back out on the field with your teammates, your friends, and suit up again. Because for me, I haven't played a full season for 2 years straight. So looking forward, I'm excited to, have both knees taken care of now. And, praying that, in my best interest, that I'll be good for the entire season this year.
I also haven't played a full season in 2 seasons. Bang.
Twins.
Yeah, like I said, walking off the field in front of 80,000 fans, in front of your family and your teammates, and realizing it's the end of the season, when you come out of the rehab process, it's almost like a rejuvenating feeling of like, I get that feeling again. I get to run out of that tunnel. I get to suit up with my brothers and go play this great game that I've dreamed of playing my entire life. At the level that I'm doing it. And so it's a relief more than anything, but I would also add that it's such like a slow process coming back that it almost feels just like a natural progression into it. It's not like a stark, like, oh, I get to come back on the field now. It's like, coach, let me back on the field. And like, no, like, be patient, be patient, be patient. And so it's a very slow progression, but to be where we are now, I think, training hard and preparing for the season, it's very relieving.
How was this recovery different from the time before for each of you guys? Was it easier, harder, having it be both of your second ACLs?
Mine were different surgeries. My right knee, I did a hamstring graft, and then for my left knee, I did the patellar tendon graft. And so they're just like little minute differences that were a little tougher for some. Like, this one was tougher because my hamstring was hurting all the time. This one was a little bit tougher because it was like the front of my knee. I had pain there. They were similar. I'd been through it already, and so I knew what to expect going into it, but just, small differences for me.
Yeah, he touched on his going through 2 different types of surgery. Mine was the same in both cases, and so for me, going through the second one was hard because I knew how hard I'd worked on the first one to get back, and I was going to have to go through that again, but I almost had a perspective on how to handle myself and how to progress through that. And so I think the second time around, I was able to use it as much more of an opportunity to, whether it was connect with people. I think a lot of people know me, like, I'm like, hey, like, I'm Drue Tranquill. They don't necessarily know my name, but if I'm like, yeah, I'm the kid who tore his ACL against Georgia Tech, oh, you're that guy that celebrated and tore his knee. So I'm kind of known for that. So hopefully I can change that perception a little bit this season. But I was able to use, I think, my story a little more this time around and maybe connect with more people and take a better perspective because I had already gone through it once before.
And a big part of our conversation is about the competitiveness between you guys. Now you guys actually get to compete, both playing Division I football. You guys won't get a chance to play each other, but
you never know. You never know. Crazier. Sometimes brothers have torn 4 ACLs in a year and a half. There's been crazy things that have happened.
Oh, yeah, we did.
So how much are you guys kind of looking forward to getting a chance to root each other on, not through a recovery process, but playing Division I football?
Well, I hope you crush every team you play, but if you step on the field against the Fighting Irish, it's going to be a bad day for you. Actually, I hope, I don't play offense, so I mean, I hope you do.
Lucky.
I might give you a pick on one of my boys, Malik or Deshaun. You might can have an interception. I'll be fine with it, but just know your receivers are going to be hurting when they come out the field.
I have 2 words. Go Broncos.